The smacking of news and weather report will start now.
All right, and we are back with the smacking off news and weather report, Doug. It's all the specialists you ever saw.
What's going on, man?
Pure excitement. And I love your graphic, by the way.
Yeah, I don't know. It is a little cartoonish, but Trump is a little cartoonish sometimes.
Oh, yeah, he is a little cartoonish. And the Iron Sheik was kind of cartoonish. And I've always found him cartoonish, you know. And,
yeah, absolutely.
Now, the original Ayatollah, his sense of self-preservation was certainly higher than these guys were, because when Ronald Reagan threatened to turn them into glass, they turned the hostages free, made sure it was done before he was inaugurated.
They did, and but just to point out, the Iron Sheik was from Iran, but he hated Iran.
Oh yeah, he
came here. He was an Olympic coach here, a wrestling coach, if I'm not mistaken. Before he became before he went to the WWF, that's what it was called back in that day. But yeah, he hated playing the part of the whole Iranian bad guy, because he loved the United States.
Yeah, now he took a heel turn along with an even deeper heel turn, I should say, along with Jesse the Body Ventura during the Gulf War, of which people saw on AFRTS while they were engaged in that conflict. So it wasn't a good look for Jesse the Body. And I wonder if anybody thought when he ran for president, if, you know, look at Jesse the Body coming out there, he was a heel against America during the Gulf War. Do you remember that heel turn?
I do, and I've always kind of liked Jesse Ventura, but at the same time, he irritates the shit out of me at times too. So
yeah, we might have dodged the bullet on that one. Even though I had some support for him, I realized that he was a mid. You know, I don't know how to explain that. So I think that Jesse the Ventura,
he's not as smart as he thinks he is. Not even close.
Yes, you could. I didn't know how to articulate that because I didn't want to be insulting to him, because he's not an idiot, but he's not a genius either.
No, but he thinks he is.
But he thinks he is. That's more dangerous, actually. You know.
What's going on, guys?
Hey.
So, what's your thoughts on Jesse the Body Ventura, Mr. Ed?
I mean, I thought he was all right. He was a little crazy.
I mean, he's definitely an entertaining fella. He was good at that, and so it's hard to take him seriously outside of wrestling, because we know what kind of part he played in wrestling. So it's hard to know when the guy's serious or not. For me, it always has been.
I think for me, he was a pretty good governor. I don't think he was out of bounds, and of course, there's always people who have conspiracy theories behind him, but you know, and believe in him.
No, he definitely was a good governor.
You know, so
I remember all that, and I agreed with him for a long time on most of everything political. But now there's such a divide. He's one of those that hates Trump with a fucking passion.
Well, that's a long list of people at it.
But why does he?
Well, I would. You know, do you really want to know what my thought on that is?
Yes.
I think that Trump is an alpha, and Jesse Ventura is, what's the next down from an alpha? It's the people who think that they're alphas, but they're not.
They're betas.
Yeah. Well, yeah, he's one of those who he thinks he's an alpha, and Trump's an actual alpha. All the next down from alpha hate Trump. They all do.
But there are also alphas, when they encounter other alphas, they're like a Staffordshire Terrier. Their hackles get up and they want to go. You know what I'm saying? There's also that.
Yeah.
But even other alphas don't hate Trump. I mean, they see that he's alpha of all alphas.
Yeah. Alphas give alphas space. I don't know, Doug, were you in the military?
I was not.
Okay, when you're in a room full of alphas, believe me, they give each other space. They don't piss on each other's shoes. They don't give side-ass glances to each other. And they respect each other because they know the damage they can do.
Yes, that's true because there's detente in that. Peace through superior firepower is really a big deal, right? And they, and not only that, though, things do build up in units over a long period of time. So when them guys do lock up, it's near legendary, and it's built up over a long period of time. You know,
it's ugly. It gets ugly.
Ugly. I got to tell you a true story about that. So one of my roommates, when I was in Germany, which there was no war on when I was in Germany, obviously it was Cold War era, but his name was Ray Mercer, and he was the world champion boxer, and he was getting ready to go to the Olympics, and he eventually became a heavyweight. He held one of the belts.
Yeah, I remember Ray Mercer.
Yeah, and he was a nice guy, right?
He beat Tommy Morrison. I remember that shit.
That's right.
Right. So anyway, so he was my roommate for a while, and there was a party down the hall, and his life, the way it worked is he went straight to the gym, and it happened early. You know, so if you're in athletics in the military and you're a superior part of it, and Army boxing was a very important thing in the 80s and 90s. I don't know about now, but it was a huge deal while I was in. And and the Army boxer, and the Navy boxer, the Marine boxer, so on and so forth would fight, and they might get to go to the Olympics, and it was a huge deal. So anyway, so he's that's what his whole life was about. He trained and so, you know, the party was going on, and he was a nice guy, man. I'm telling you, this was a nice guy. He was soft-spoken. You know, he just, you know, he held my kid. You know what I'm trying to say? I run around the barracks with her. I felt pretty secure in that, actually, to let my kid run around the barracks because he loved to show my kid off to everybody once I had a kid. And so he would parade around the barracks with my kid, and nobody would mess with her, obviously. And but anyway, so he's like, all right, Arthur, man, I got to have some sleep, or I'm going to have to have a discussion with these guys. And he goes out the door, and he heads down the hall, and the party's going on. They got their big competing stereos going on, and he beats on the door, and the dudes come out, and he says, I'm going to be real nice here one time, but I'm going to get some sleep, I guarantee, or everybody's going to sleep. Well, and it calmed down real quick, guys. Things got nice.
And that's just how it rolls.
Yeah, because they knew he was legit, right? And when you're with people day in and day out, you know whether they're legit. But over time, frictions were rough. But if you're Donald Trump and you roll in there, you're like a hot heavyweight champion. You're like Apollo Creed and Rocky One. You're dancing. You're acting fool. You're trying to get people's attention. You're swinging everything you got around to look like the biggest guy. And that can also be a facade. A lot of people will try to hide their own weaknesses by being over the top and how aggressive they are. But I don't believe that with Donald Trump. I believe he's similar to Ronald Reagan in the way that if he says it, he's at least going to try to do it.
He's going to do it.
What's the chances that he's been duped into this Iran thing and he's in a quagmire that he's not going to be able to get out of that's going to cost him issues in the midterms?
Oh, I see it's highly possible, guys.
I see it as a possibility, but it's hard for me to believe he's being duped by the.
No, not being duped. Already been duped, and now he's in a quagmire. I mean, he may realize he was duped.
Oh, you're saying he's been duped by the Israelis?
I'm not sure the Israelis, but possibly. But I think the only thing Israel's concerned with is taking Iran out. They're not worried about politics in the U.S.
No. What about the neocons? Is there a remnant of the neocons?
I would say the duped by the globalists, because this could lead to world war if we can't straighten this problem out in the strait there, it's going to lead to world war.
So, they did release some sanctions on Russia and allowed them to export oil specifically to Europe that had been blocked, and they're hoping that would ease some of that. And so we're hopeful in that. And I'm very concerned. I really give some thought tactically to this, guys. And I'm gonna rely, Bruce is a veteran. He's seen a lot, and Ed's been around. He's watched the news, and I know he's paid attention to all this. So I'll let y'all bounce off this.
He's been around.
Yeah, but you're
Well, the big dog in the picture right now is China. And I think all of you have to realize that China has, I think, between 21 and 31 days of fuel to propel 800 million people. Okay.
Yeah, but
now that's when you're going to see shit hit the wall if they're not given, or those ships don't go through Hormuz. Now that's when shit's gonna hit the wall.
it could be tough,
But China's on good terms with Iran.
That doesn't matter. If shipping isn't going through the straits, China can hold their dick in their hand.
Yeah, but they're not gonna join us. China would resist us, not help us. In other words, they would feel that we were responsible. They had the last shot against us. I think it'd be similar to Japan before World War II when we put the oil embargo and scrap embargo on them. But really, to me, the big concern, guys, that I wanted to bounce off from you tactically, right, as to how this can play out. So, in a technological war, the way to persist is through a Stone Age resistance. And what that means is if you have an organized resistance that relies on runners, which the Muslim world is known for. For example, that's how that they communicated with, Al-Qaeda communicated with Obama, as they sent runners. Similar to in the trenches of World War I. That's what Adolf Hitler did. He was a runner, so you would get a message, and then he had to go through the trenches to the next unit and deliver the message. So you would use runners in the Muslim world, and you'd be able to do that because you knew who everybody was and that they were part of the Revolutionary Guard or wherever the hell they were in. But anyway, so in the case of Iran, they never have to surrender unless we put boots on the ground. At that point, it'd be if anybody that knows anything about the insurgencies in Iraq and so forth, you couldn't drive a vehicle down the road without 3 kids from 5 to 55 or throwing every kind of bomb. And they made the prefab bombs. They trained, financed, and coordinated the insurgency. They know what they're doing in that regard. And it'd be a death match for us. If any armed forces from the West and or Israel and or our local allies decided to have an actual ground invasion, they can even bring them, get underground, because obviously they know how to build bunkers. I'm sure we don't know about all the bunkers they have, right? And these are contingencies that people really need to think about for how long this war could last. So they can go into their bunkers, hide wherever. Obviously, we haven't found them all. They say that Khomeini's son is still alive. Obviously, we don't know where he's at, or he would be dead, right? And they can just wait for everybody to get in there, and then they nuke themselves. And they have said this before, right? If it brought on the return of the Mahdi, right, they would nuke the Israeli devils. So we've got to be careful here, and there's no victory.
There's always side branches to what's ever happening in the diplomacy of what's coming down the trail.
And there's no way to do what Trump is saying and just pull out.
But there's one thing that Trump
if he does do that, that's going to cause a lot of issues.
Yeah.
But one thing Trump has is in his favor right now. Is in a month we're going to be he's going to be meeting Jing, and I think could be Washington. I don't know, but at that time, with the amount of oil we have, it could be what we're getting from Venezuela and stuff. He could be negotiating and saying to China, "Hey, wait here, if you don't get involved, we'll give you all the oil you want."
Oh yeah, that's smart right there. I mean, that's a bargaining.
There's some things I think diplomatically that are in Trump's favor.
Yeah, that's true. Now, so if you're thinking about this in terms of an op plan, if people complain long enough about the Strait of Hormuz being closed, and it's obviously they have not taken out all the things, drones, missiles, whatever that can attack ships, and they had silkworm missiles from China that they had for years, and obviously we can't intercept every one of them, or either unable or unwilling to intercept them before they hit the ships. So one of your contingencies, and it's one that I'm kind of concerned about, would be that you would use elite forces such as Marines and Airborne to secure the shores of the Gulf of Hormuz, right? So that's how I see boots getting on the ground. That there's a similar to the Suez Canal incident in the 1950s, if anybody's familiar with that, right? Where the British and French invaded Egypt, and the Suez Canal and the Sinai and the Suez Canal in concert with the Israelis in order to keep the Egyptians from blocking the world trade of oil and so forth through the Suez Canal. But then the UN stepped in and told them they had to leave after they won, right? But that's how that operation would look, and then they would basically, you would have a elite forces group take over the other side of the Gulf of Hormuz, and if you did that, then we'd have that war, we'd have that insurgency, and I don't believe it'd never end. Another factor to this is we don't want not only do we not want sympathies among other Muslim nations, but guys, the insurgencies we've just went through, there's 90 million people in Iran. If only 40 million of them are from fanatics, then it would look, it would like Vietnam, Afghanistan, and Iraq combined look like a plaything. I mean, it'd be the kind of thing where you could spend troops like the British did in India for 100 years.
Mm-hmm.
So we hope they don't get too tricky, and we hope that their braggadocio doesn't go too far. Because otherwise, if they don't just decide to surrender, why would you surrender? Now, if the people are starving, that doesn't matter to the mullahs. And you got to remember, you got to think we're talking about religious fanatics too, right? To them, it may all be prophecy, and they just have to wait it all out until the body.
In the interim, Iran has done itself no favors by firing on Saudi Arabia, going and shooting on their fellow neighbors, and people that really had no fight in the game. They fired upon now, and now is their enemies. They're pissed off at them.
But you know, all those guys,
I really don't know what they were thinking there, but
yeah, Iran was thinking, well, hey, if we're going to go down, everyone goes down.
I know what they're thinking. Every one of the countries that they've attacked are one of the countries that's recognized that Israel as a sovereign nation.
Well, during the Abraham Accords. Yeah.
Right.
Very well true. It's, you got
to remember, they want the death and destruction of Israel.
The brotherhood. The brotherhood is showing fractures.
So if you also look at it, guys, we hope we've destroyed their they say their ballistic missile capability goes up into Europe. I really believe that if they could launch a nuke at us or Israel right this moment, they would. But if they had one and couldn't launch it, they could leave it in place and wait for an invading army and nuke themselves. So that's what I think they're capable of that, because the religious fanaticism is another part of it. And really, I'll go to fundamentalists here. I've heard people say before that they don't really care what happened to them, because since they're saved, that they're just going to have it anyway, right? So if just everyday people here in Appalachia think that way, and I have heard many, imagine if you were on their level of fundamentalism, where you'd go with it. What about you, Ed? What do you think about their level of fundamentalism? Is it an impact?
The people?
No, talking about the fundamentalist regime.
I think, well, look, if we stay in there for months, I think the regime is going to fall.
I don't see us being in there for months. I really firmly believe that by it's the spring. I mean, June the earliest. It has to be over. This will be playing into the political field in the upcoming election and having great impact on it.
Well, that's for us, but for them, they could if they've got food stores, especially for the elite and for the soldiers, they can wait it out till those are done. They can just wait underground basically until we run out of stuff to bomb and wait for us to invade or not, and just wait it out. Like, you know, I mean that's the thing.
I guess we'll find out, huh?
Yeah, see, that's what's So I don't really see any incentive for them to surrender. I mean, it doesn't improve their position because of the fact that we want regime change. In their mind, what would they do if they deposed the regime? Well, they would behead them.
So
So
we might not have a choice.
exactly, and we can't go in because I'm telling you, when the entire populace, you're the great Satan to them. They've been taught that their whole life. I mean, it's just like in school when they say orange man is bad and they recite it rote, even though they don't know what it means. It's the same thing when you've been. I've heard deaf to. I don't know. I don't remember the first time. I think the first time I heard deaf to America is I was watching a TV report about the PLO in like during the Munich bombings in 1972. So,
I've heard it since early 70s, so no, this is nothing unfamiliar that is coming out of Iran.
Now, I'll tell you something that could go on though. If we do get control of the Strait of Hormuz itself, if they decide to use troops, I would use it the method that I prescribed, and then I would bring in. I don't want to bring troops on the ground at all, but let's just say we did, right? You would have to make your priorities the areas that allowed them to control the Strait of Hormuz and also the oil port facilities. And if you did that and you maintained a no-fly zone, then you could theoretically keep them from disrupting world trade while simultaneously starving them out. And then there would be an insurgency. Yes. So that's the thing. So here's what's that?
Well, that's victory by attrition. Doing that.
Now I've seen your. What's that, Doug?
What do y'all think about these sleeper cells they're saying that we're fixing to be dealing with?
Undoubtedly, they're here, and undoubtedly they're going to do damage. It's just how extensive it will be. But I figure it this way: it's going to be a short-term thing because if it's going to be whack-a-mole time. And
as soon as they do something, Trump's going to go hardcore after. But he's basically just going to say, "Get them all up and get them out of here."
Well, are you talking about mass getting out of the Muslim society, moving them out of the country, or I'm talking militarily, them going down and reducing those numbers by them exposing themselves and the intel that we have in this country, knowing where they're at. They're going to be liquidated fairly early. They won't have the extensive numbers.
Now, what about the terrorist attack we just had in New York City against the anti-Mondami protesters? Does anyone know about that?
Yeah, but that's only two people who are two teenagers that were. They didn't even properly do the bombs, so lucky.
Lucky they didn't blow themselves up.
Exactly, because those two morons.
But still, though,
idiots.
So the important part about that is the media tried to deflect and say that Mondami was a victim, and then
but that didn't fly too damn quick.
No,
people were more intelligent than that, but they're more than willing to try that avenue. and that was the media themselves. I mean, they're more than in the hip pockets of the left right now and what's happening.
I think the anti-Semitism has been truly exposed in the last 4 or 5 years in our country, right? I didn't know how deep it ran, how serious it was, and I lived in a world where, you know, uh, where I thought they had been defeated along with the Nazis, even though I knew it existed in the Middle East and there were a few fringe elements, but I didn't know that you know, permeated society to the extent that it did, you know,
Well,
and it showed itself. I mean, and the left is obviously anti-Semitic, and it's that behavior goes all the way back to Jesse Jackson.
yeah,
Yeah,
and
you're right, and they are.
I can honestly say when I was in college, and I almost kind of got sucked into believing the anti-Jewish religious stuff. Okay, even though I am Jewish, I find that I've actually found out what was happening was, and it kind of I saw how extensive it was going into the leftist mentality and to the Democratic Party itself of being anti-Jewish. And that's when I had to really retract myself and pull myself out of that thinking that, you know, gee, the Jews handle the money, the Jews handle the movie industry, the Jews have banking, they have power, they have clout. And the the leftist democratic society wanted to use that as a weapon to split
Well, see,
the
you're right about I mean, everything you said is true, but it's not all Jews. It's a small sect of Jews that
a
control
small
a lot of stuff.
segment of Jews,
Right,
okay?
and they're very high IQ group.
Yeah, the
against the
Ashkenazi
rest.
Jews are extremely brilliant people.
Oh
And
yeah,
But you know the way I mean, I've never been anti-Jew, especially like the left is. I'm kind of in the middle. I mean, I know Israel's not perfect. I definitely don't like Netanyahu. I don't. But as far as like Netanyahu against these Arab leaders, not Arab, sorry, Iranian leaders and some of the Arab leaders, it's like night and day. He's much closer to Western civilization than the other people, and identify more with Netanyahu.
and
so
you have
that's
to
important,
understand
guys.
that Netanyahu is Jewish. He's for Jews. He's not for anyone else. And even to America, using the Mossad and in the fashion that they have, it is when he would use the Mossad on us in a heartbeat and have no compunction of doing
Absolutely.
it.
But
Okay,
guys,
don't
it's
be
important.
thinking that in one hand he's our good Goomba. He's also kind of like a not very person that you can put faith in either. So he's kind of painted himself in a corner in many ways in a lot of people on the right because they know just how deep the Mossad can run.
You know what's really going on here, guys? We got to go back to Doug's point, right? Doug's point about uh, Israel, they're not perfect, and so on and so forth. So why are we allies with Israel? So I'm going to lay out why we are allies with Israel, right? And it's not what you're going to hear on television, but it's the absolute truth. The truth is the Crusades never ended,
Oh
right?
yeah,
And the World War
absolutely.
II was an opportunity, right? And the plight of the Jews was an opportunity for us to have a forever foothold in Christendom, as they would call it, right? And outside of Christendom in Palestine, to put our foothold in Palestine, to make them a staunch and powerful ally. So, like, for example, we've had it over the last, since 9/11 and before, we've had the expansion of the so-called caliphate, right? And that's been their goal, and their goals plainly stated, which is to destroy Israel and to spread Islam all over the world and kill the non-believers. I mean, it's pretty simple, right? Now, they don't ever stray from that. They've got no mission creep. That's what they're on. Well,
You're correct on Islam. It's
Yeah, and it goes back
it's
to
everything that the people who criticize it says that it is. Um, uh, they spread their religion by force.
but they do it very underground, and it goes back to the Muslim Brotherhood from the early 60s going into the 70s, and then them joining up with the socialists in Egypt. Okay. And that's when it really started getting aggressive with the fundamentalist and them and entwining in that doctrine of hating the West even more, hating the Jews even more, and expanding out of it.
Oh, it goes back further than that.
But
The
that
mafia,
I think it's. I was looking at that era as the if you want to call it the linchpin or the beginning of the really, and that's when Iran was taken over, and it even became even more. It became set on fire and flame.
Didn't we install the Shaw, Bruce?
Yes, in the early, actually, the British did.
Yes, because
in it.
Was that in the 60s or was it early?
50s.
It started in the early 60s.
But they so what happened during World War II is that the Mufti or the Mufti or whoever their main poobah was of the Islam world at that time supported the Nazis because the Nazis
Correct.
told them that they'd help destroy world Jewry. And
Correct.
they
really bought into it very heavily.
Right. So they supported the Nazis, and then the Nazis lost. And when the Nazis lost for the second time in the 20th century, the British administered their land, and then eventually the British was unable to stay in the colonial empire. So all those places, and the French as well, but the French had controlled large areas of that part of the world as well as North Africa, and they weren't able to maintain their presence as colonial powers, and they were getting sniped at from every direction.
Correct.
But the UN sanctioned the creation of Israel as a sovereign nation, and they were already people piling into the area since the 30s, and there were already some tensions, including ones. There were events and that were events and incidents would be a better word, that were dealt with by both French and British colonial troops at one time or another throughout the 20th century, and so basically it was a headache off their shoulders as well, that they no longer, once Israel showed that they couldn't be ran out of there, then which around 1956, it's pretty obvious they were going to fight to the end no matter what, and so they didn't have to deal with that no more.
Yeah, and you saw the stepping stones of how the Muslims expanded into Europe. The soft underbelly, believe it or not, was France. France were the ones who actually folded quicker than anyone.
They always do, don't they?
Very well. And then it was into Germany when they started going with the immigration thing, and then they slid into England, and England's done. I don't know if they'll ever recuperate.
Guys, I don't know how y'all feel about this, but it looks to me like Germany's on a path to we're on a path to repeat history of World War I and World War II.
Really?
Germany they're the worst of Europe as far as free speech goes. They do not allow free speech. They put you in jail for posts on the internet, and now they're committed to building their military back up. So,
well, it's scary when Russia's on your border and they're invading their neighbors, and of course, everybody when Germany gets ready to roll, iron down the road is a scary situation too. And history has shown that they're quite innovative, and if you think a drone war in Ukraine looks ugly right now, imagine if of course, I have to say, having trained alongside the German army, that they were ran by a pacifist element in their government, and it was the minimum at the time. They were doing the minimum, right? Even though they did have the best tank in the world, the Leopard 2, which was better than the M1 in my opinion at the time, and the M1s we had went into battle in Iraq with the Leopard 2's gun, the 120 millimeter smoothbore. But anyway, they didn't have will to fight, and they were all conscripts, and you only had to do 2 years. So you either had to do 2 years of military or 2 years of public service if you were a German. And they had a small military. They didn't have any political will, but they were ready to defend. But so the core of people who could have turned them into a great army, right, from World War II, those guys are gone. Now they've been integrated with NATO a long time, and I'm sure that they've learned a lot from that. And like I said, they make great armor, and they were able to adapt our own throwaway airplanes and make them into competitive units. And now they can build their own if they desire. And they've got a long history of aviation excellence, right? But I don't think they're going to head east into Poland and the Crimea. I don't know how to be to their advantage. And everybody to the west of them is ended up with the same madness they are.
So, guys, real quick, just a quick subject change, real quick. How about this Save America Act and this bullshit going on in the fucking Senate? I mean, right now this is a show. They're going to throw it out to a vote. Who's the head of the Senate's name again?
John Thune.
Yeah, Thune is saying that we don't have the votes. But the thing is this is a fact. Thune could change that immediately. Thune could do away with the filibuster, or he could take it back to a real filibuster. Let the Democrats run their mouths for however long they can, and afterwards we don't need but 51 votes to pass this motherfucker.
Well, they don't want the filibuster as it is. They want a talking filibuster. They want every senator to put their name on the vote. They want them to speak on it. They want them to talk of it so that they can hang themselves, because we do have an elections coming up.
But I really don't think the plan is to pass this, Bruce. I think the plan is to have a showing and say, "Well, we tried."
Yeah,
that's what the rhinos are going to do.
Thune wants, because he feels we don't have the vote. We don't have the 60 votes.
We don't need 60 votes. Then.
I know
That's what I'm saying.
If they let run their mouth long enough,
we run what, and we're going to blame Bob for this because Bob lives in Kentucky. But McConnell introduced what they call the zombie filibuster.
Correct.
At some point. Before then, you had the talking filibuster, and afterwards you could pass something with 51 votes. Sorry, yeah, with 51 votes, and if you only got 50 in there, then the vice president can come in and be the deciding vote, and we can still do this. Thune has the power to do this unilaterally by himself. And he's fucking acting like he doesn't. He's acting like that this is not even an option. It absolutely is an option.
That destroys the Democrats, by the way.
He ain't fooling anybody. He's part of the Uniparty. They do not want this all passed.
And the question you ask yourself is why? Why?
Because they're part of the big club. They can get elected without the will of the American people. They don't need American people. That they can steal elections, and it ain't just the Democrats. There's rhinos involved in this as well. In my opinion,
I'm so tired of these people who get elected to office covering their ass constantly. It's just like the other day when they were going to expose all the senators, picadillos, and the people who were screwing who and who's doing this, and at the last minute they had they killed it. They wouldn't bring it to the floor to expose people and their criminality. Well, it's bullshit. How can they keep hiding behind procedural things when they're no worse than a fucking thief or a gangster?
I'll tell you how they can do it, Bruce, because once you're in there, you can use insider trading to go from being worth $200,000 a year to being worth $200 million in a couple of years.
This is what's killing
no matter what.
There is no faith any longer in the political system or the structure to be.
I agree. And see, that's the whole thing on the left, right? Because I listen to them, and sometimes you got to listen to what people are really saying, get past all the rabid hostility and all that, and what they're really saying. Is there's people that's seen that since Vietnam. they've seen things that go on in the government, right?
Are they
And
both covering? The left is covering for the right. There's no distinguishing between either party now. None.
so we've seen a lot. That's why conspiracy theory sticks so well. I mean, is because there has been things that's went on that seem shady. There were on Contra hearings. I mean, it goes on and on and on. The things that's shady, you know, that get exposed that people do. Watergate. I mean, Watergate. A lot of people lost face to America, you know. And I watched that on television. I watched a lot of Watergate on television, and I think that it happened. And as I was watching
you guys were young kids when Watergate.
I was a child, but I watched it, Bruce, and
I lived through it.
yeah.
So did I.
In fact, I had the day I got discharged from the military from 1971. I had Nixon's signature on my thing, and I thought he was such a bad guy. I sent my thing back to the government saying, "I'll wait till the next round of president."
So he was the top of your chain of command.
Yes,
if you were out of your chain of command.
And I sent my separation papers with his name on it back because I thought he was a bad guy. But come history rolls around, he wasn't such a bad
No, he
person.
wasn't that bad. He really wasn't. Of course, I was just being born in 19... Did you say 1970 or 71?
I was 71 when I got out.
When did you get out?
May of 71.
May of 71? You was
May
getting
of
out...
71, but I still had another year in the military because I went in what they call 2x6,
Yeah.
2 years active, 4 years inactive.
Well,
Yeah,
and
you're
Bruce,
angry.
Bruce, in May of 71, when you were getting out, or I guess ceremonially getting out, and you still had another year, you said?
Yeah.
I was being born.
Yeah, you're born. You know,
I was born that month.
yeah. So no, I've lived through it. I do have some insight into what's happening right now, but historically, but I'm so damn fucking old. But it lends to some insight of what's happening now, and I'm still learning. I mean, I'm still my belief system is one that, believe me, gets fragmented every day when I see some shit that comes down the pike that I can't believe that it's even happening.
Well, let me roll a possibility by you then, Bruce.
What's that?
So I'm going to roll a possibility by you, or just so if someone was of that mindset that they were skeptical of almost everything that the government did, right?
Oh,
and they watched so hear my scenario out. So if they watched the proceedings that started the Iraq War about the WMDs, they came out there with poster boards and pictures and on and said they had this and that, and they did it, and they had their war, and they used the war of propaganda.
Oh, they did, absolutely did. They brought that whole the Abby Hoffmans, all those guys right to the forefront.
Real quick war trivia. How did the Vietnam War start?
Oh, that was the Gulf and Tonkin Resolution, which really was a made up thing.
Yeah, it was a false flag.
Yeah, false flag, but we went into it, and
we lose 55. Did we lose 55,000 men in that war?
65,000 men we lost in that war. I've
lost based off of a false flag.
Yeah, I've lost 4 very good high school friends, and I've lost.
Well, that's the kind of shit that'll make people not believe anything.
But I still believe in my country. I still love my country. I die tomorrow for my country. I have no reservations upon it.
So how much manipulation is there then, Doug, right now? I mean, Trump says, right, and I do believe him a little bit on this, that he thinks that they were going to have a nuke any day and they were going to use it.
That's right. Well,
so
it was the ballistic end of it.
And I mean, on our end, there's no way for us to verify that or know it. You just got to you either take their word for it or you don't.
I do.
I just take everything with a grain of salt. I definitely don't think it is, definite that that's a lie. I mean, I know that we've been lied to a lot. I think Trump's one of the most honest presidents we've had probably since, I hate to say Jimmy Carter, but
Yeah, Jimmy Carter was an honest man. That was his downfall.
yep.
But there again, guys, we're still relying heavily, and you will see a lot of the things that are happening here have been the information that we have gleaned from Israel in the meeting of the setups when the mullahs were all going to meet together on that first meeting, how they were going to react to it. And by golly, all this came about was from Israeli intelligence. So we're without Israel, we're flying blind.
Well, yes, I think that we had some insight, but I guarantee they provided the majority of the intelligence. But
Absolutely.
But here's the kind of intelligence we're
They
providing.
are so deep into Iran and have them covered on every angle. They are aggressively pursuing.
From what I've heard, they've had people in the Iranian military.
In fact, one guy sitting in Jerusalem right now that was second in command of the IRG.
So, but if you combine that with our surveillance from outer space and our ability through the Space Force to track launches of missiles and track them back to their original source and provide targeting information, that's a hell of a intelligence coup. So every time they launch a missile or a drone, right, it's seen with our technological assets. We also have drones on the battlefield ourselves.
And within seconds.
And tracked within seconds. I mean, so I wonder how many. It's a pretty big country with 90 million people. I wonder how long they can keep shifting stuff around, and you can't move it on the streets either, right? So you'd have to conceal it or disassemble it or whatever. So sooner or later, we'll have to fight all these. So it seems like every time they launch one, we're able to strike whatever area it is. So I'm encouraged that we'll mitigate it, but
okay. That's the main thing I have to regress upon now, though, guys, is this, and we're going to have to be very, factual of this. It's going to come to the homeland. They're here, so we are going to have death and mayhem here in this country. Don't think we're not. Don't think we're immune. Don't think our FBI is going to come to save us. And I think we really, and I'm not just trying to scare people, but be cautious of where you're at all times. Don't think you're safe. Don't think you're immune.
If I lived in Michigan right now, I'd be worried to death. There's towns like Lansing where
or Los Angeles. Los Angeles would be a great spot to hit, especially with the Olympics coming up.
And I'm pretty sure the Somalis they're all pro Iran. So
yeah, Seattle, Washington.
We've got a few of those in Minnesota, I've heard.
Yeah, we're going to have the FINA soccer championships in Seattle coming up pretty soon. That's an ideal place to hit and do. So,
and we've got football season coming up here in not too long. I mean, it's always around the corner. So
good to see your face.
Suitcase nuke. What if someone had a suitcase nuke?
Yeah, I mean, there's always they hate us. They want us dead. Let's
they do. They do.
Let's make no grandiose idea. The only thing that we've been lucky so far, other than 9/11, that they haven't reached out and touched us. But
does it ever blow your mind, Bruce, that liberal women are so vehemently for
I can't understand it. It's
right.
You're talking about that they take the side of the people who would put them to death.
Yes,
mother of my brother. It's hard to have that imagination that these women would sell their own gender down the river to gain power and prestige.
Maybe they have rape fantasies,
and they're willing to these poor girls on the soccer team who are in Australia, okay? Have you heard anything from Rapinoe's mouth about it?
No, nothing.
Not one single word, and you won't
Not
hear
a fucking thing
from her.
I mean, I'm not upset about it.
Those are five
I didn't want to hear
brave
from her,
women
Bruce.
who are going against the tide.
There you go. That's because feminism, right, has shifted, and it doesn't make any sense to me. It's not, it supports things that's not in their own interest, so it doesn't make any. Of course, I actually support a level of feminism.
Yeah, a level of it, but my daughter is right on this shit. She knows how destructive this modern feminism is. But she's listening to these women that are talking about that men and women are exactly equal physically, and so and shit like that, and she knows better. And I've never told her anything. I've never said, "Hey, men are superior to women." Never said it. Not once. She figured it out herself, and she said this puts women at a disadvantage because you got the stupid ones that are walking around. They think they're physically equal to men. And has women ever successfully had any kind of revolution without man behind it?
Not that I'm aware of.
I mean, I know that there were some women in France
encourage a man to step out and do what he needs to do.
Yeah,
and have been there
support. I like them.
No, women have strengths that man can't touch, but we're not the same. We're equal, maybe, but not the same. It just it doesn't work. The math don't math.
I'll bring something up funny. Today early this morning, I was listening to an old Rolling Stones song called Under My Thumb.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if you've ever I don't know if you ever listened to the lyrics of it. It is just, I'm sure the feminists hate that song.
Oh, my wife hates that song, but I love the guitar tone in it.
Ed, sing us a few bars of Under My Thumb.
Oh, I can't sing, man. It's not pretty.
But what I'm saying is that I just can't. It's hard for, I think, most males to say, how can you sell your own gender out? It's hard.
Yeah.
On many levels. It's just that, it's abortion, it's the whole scheme of things. And they're so locked into it. They're so
nothing is sacred to the left, and seriously, in a lot of ways, the left is like the new right. I mean, seriously, like the right was 40 or 50 years ago. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying bad things about the right, but I'm just saying they are pro-state on everything. The right was more like that 50 years ago.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, the libertarians has shifted to what's now called the right. So people like myself that are of the libertarian mindset, right, they have shifted to the right in order to protect the rights. I'd like as many rights for people as possible, but I want them to be backed by the Constitution, right? For example, I felt that on gay marriage, that it shouldn't have been approved by the Supreme Court legally on the grounds that marriage was defined as being between a man and a woman, right? So they had to redefine marriage. It's not that marriage was legalized, it's that they had to redefine what marriage was so that they could get married, right? So I felt that legally that was decided wrong. And you could say that was an activist court, right? So
yeah, my view on it is if I guess you would call it a civil union.
Right.
The downfall of it to me was, and I've never been like, oh my God, the gays have to be married. But the way I look at it is the government really has no place in it. But at the time, but when government started saying that churches had to marry homosexuals, even if that particular church didn't believe that was a legitimate marriage, I mean, that's where it falls apart.
I agree with that. All those aspects of it where you're trying to force things on people, right? So I have a problem with that. But otherwise, people should get as freaky as they want. Get her done. You know what I'm saying? So that's the way I felt about it. And if you wanted to honor that with a civil union, then so be it. So
civil union, whatever you want to call it. But the thing is the state has no place forcing churches to participate in something that they don't believe is
no place in the bedroom. It really does not.
right, I agree with that.
But I mean, here's the thing, and I have no problems with homosexuals. But if you want to end homosexuality, just put all the male homosexuals on one island, all the females on the other island, and go back in 150 years.
Well,
And that's that. I mean, that's the sad truth of it.
no, I think pop culture has popularized these things to an extent to where, and pop culture and political rhetoric and social rhetoric has popularized these things beyond a level that would have been normal.
That's true.
Well, you don't. I don't know if y'all know.
Do you know what this whole transgender business is?
Yeah, it's
a fad.
It's a fad, absolutely, Ed. But hey, I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but since X was bought by Elon Musk, and people are allowed to speak their mind on these types of things on X now, the numbers have fallen off big time. There are way less people claiming to be trans at this point.
Oh yeah, that ideology is still being pushed in places, and I think that how you can end it is making people responsible for the decisions that they made for minors, right? And for so if you were a doctor and you were all for administering the medication that changed them before they were 18,
you don't even want to know what I think on this.
But I think the biggest thing that has also changed, guys, is that there has been no change in the level of suicides of gay people.
Absolutely none. Or trans people, because they were all they were told that they would have to transition or they would kill themselves. They still kill themselves at the same rate.
It has proved to be totally false.
Yep.
So why go through an operation or have your body mutilated, and when there's no,
or even the hormones,
self-esteem within yourself that you're a whole.
I say, when is it legal for somebody to get a tattoo in most states?
18 in Washington.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not even for 18. I think 21. On any kind of sex change, it needs to be 21, because even an 18-year-old,
the reason
an 18-year-old's head is still slightly soft on top.
The reason the advocates want it rushed, Doug, is that if they can do the puberty blockers soon enough,
because they take them out of the gene pool, Bob.
Right.
That's what they want to do. That's what all this is about.
What do you mean take them out of the gene pool?
Once you transition a male or a female, they're out of the gene pool at that point. They cannot.
This is their own selective doing of yourself. Then you're getting into human population reduction.
Yep.
That's all you're doing. You're reducing the amount of people that can breed.
My daughter.
That's a very interesting way of going about eugenics. That's for damn.
But it is.
My daughter figured this out a long time ago.
Or whoever you want, genetics.
And here's another thing the left does. Have you noticed that the people who have extreme weight issues, the left is telling them that they're saying, "Oh, you're completely healthy. Don't worry about it. No body shaming and all this." Everything that the left does, and I'm not even talking about the people at the bottom on the left. They're just stupid tools.
But you better not drink that sugary drink in a plastic cup.
Exactly, but you better have the sugary drink, though. But yeah, everything they do is geared toward taking the useless eaters, and that's all of us. If you're not an elite, the useless eaters out of the fucking equation.
And the women that subscribe to a lot of this aren't having kids until their late 30s, early 40s, if at all. And that's also impacting the population. And they say at the rate that people were having kids in the West in general, that sooner or later the population will collapse.
No, yeah, we're already in trouble. From what I've heard, if we could turn it around right now, we're still going to go through a really bad period where we hit the bottom. But we haven't turned anything around. Birth rates are still low; they're not improving. And you know what? One of the problems in the United States is that it costs a lot of money to have kids, and inflation has knocked the fuck out of us.
Oh yeah, things are tough all over, man. And the oil prices, those are going to be leverage for people going into the midterms, because the Democrats, ironically, were screaming affordability, even though they're the ones that caused the inflation. I found that very interesting. But the oil is a pretty legitimate concern, and it's interesting that Schumer the other day he was all for releasing the oil reserves, and then when Trump did it, then he criticized it.
Of course.
Well, just ask yourself, looking back 40 years, could you ever say to yourself, with the economics right now today, could you buy a home? Can you afford a home right now?
No, but a lot of people, what they don't get about the 80s is there was inflation then too under Carter. And
I remember people buying houses in 1982 or 83 at 20 points.
That's what I said. You had to have 20% down to buy. And
no, your interest rate was at 20%.
Hey, Bruce, that's how we know that Reagan was a great president. Reagan, the only way to get interest rates down was to get people to start using credit again at that point. And Reagan convinced people to do it. And if it wouldn't have been for that, we wouldn't have had the 90s.
Oh, yeah.
Or to get it down to 9%.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, I have two houses, but both of them need a bunch of work. And right now, I'm just not putting any money out. But I feel fortunate that I'm not Gen. The millennials don't own houses. They really don't. And they're probably never going to. Well, no, they're bitching and not being. They're not happy about it, but they don't have what it takes to actually save money. All the examples I have of millennials, they just don't save money. They live like children.
Oh yeah, it's because they've never been told no.
Perpetual teenagers.
They haven't been told. Kids haven't been told no in a long time. Throughout it's a very permissive culture, especially as it comes to children. So, they no is a word they don't really understand. They usually get what they want. And it's instant gratification society as well. If you don't get it right now, just like even Trump has went too far in saying the war's over. Hell, he said that every day since it started.
And that makes me believe that he's uncomfortable with the situation, and he probably should be. But I'm really hoping that this don't end up some shit that's we're in a lot worse shape by midterms, because there's nowhere for the people to go but.
Iran cannot win a war against us in their own country.
No, they can't
only impact us here.
Well, that's what I'm saying. They're not going to win the war, but they could make it take so long that Americans lose the stomach for it. And it ain't going to take much, because America, the average citizen, don't have the stomach for any kind of serious war at this point.
The only serious ally they have is Russia, especially if there's a ground war, because Russia borders them, right? So theoretically, if we got into a ground war and the Russians didn't like it, then and the Russians and the Iranians have been associated for a long time, and then the Russians could do like the Chinese did during the Korean War and come in to hold up their ally, and that's also a possibility. And the other leaders have spoke about that. But at the very least, there's a border with Russia that we can't close, where they can give them continued material support.
Okay, I'm going to ask all of you guys a question. historically in the Vietnam War, we used the same strategic bombing things that we're doing right now in Iran. Did that win us the war?
No.
No.
Okay, think about it.
Our technology is a lot better now, though. But
It is. We're more precise and we're more targeted. And I think we're now in a different framework of we're not going to manage a war, we're going to win a war.
But I'm not. You definitely can't win a war through the air.
Correct.
You
and
can
that's
do
what I'm saying.
You can set it up to win it, but you can't win it through the air.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Well, they'll fight to the last Iranian. I mean, Molotov cocktails, IEDs. I mean, that's the whole deal. Is once you go in, if you think that, if you were in Baghdad, then and during the war on terror, you had to wait for the Iranians and the people they support to cross the border. When you get in Iran, you'll actually be there with them, and they're fanatics. I mean, they'll send their children into a bazaar with a bomb strapped to them. I mean, I think the losses would be appalling, and that the amount of blood and treasure spilled would probably bankrupt us.
Yeah, if not financially, spiritually. I mean, I don't. We had so many wars that just went on and on and on.
But the only saving grace that we have right now is with the Iranian people is a lot of them remember what life was under the Shah, and they were very happy.
They also remember they beheaded a woman for taking her burqa off.
Is a Muslim who lived in Iran during that time, both his parents and stuff. And he says, no, Iran people want to go back to that era. So how much they're willing to fight for it, like Trump said, we'll kick it off, but it's your bailiwick.
There you go. So what would a resolution look like for you, Ed? Ed.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm just doing some shit.
He's doing some shit, guys. We like it when he does shit. That's interesting. But so anybody, what would a resolution? What would an end look like?
I mean, with Trump in office, I don't think a win looks anything other than Iran loses. I don't see an alternative to that.
Yes.
Well, I don't want the United States to dictate who their leader is going to be. I think that has to come from the Iranian people themselves, because who wants to be dictated to of having a puppet put in there who they really don't want?
The people don't have the power to make that happen.
I understand that. But it still has to come from the Iranian people.
Yeah.
You're talking about a free and fair election.
Correct. Not one of these where war thumb is on the scale to drive who we want to. I want a secular president. We're not there. We shouldn't be in that with that mentality.
Well, that's true. We can't do any nation building here. You're absolutely right. I mean, we've got to turn that over to whoever it is. And there's the Shaw.
Bush, and the sure hell's not going to work for Trump.
So, how much is our interest payment now? Isn't it like $1 trillion? It's really close, isn't it?
Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah, so it's just getting worse. And I mean, at some point, I think we're a lot closer to paying the piper on this than we think that we are.
I hope so because I've got some shares in SQQQ, SDOW, and SPXU, which are all triple inverse ETFs that go against the market. So if we get an 2008 type crash, I'm rich.
Well, Ed, it looks like you might be rich pretty soon because I keep hearing that that's where we're at.
I don't.
The signs are there.
I don't. You know, we are overdue. But here's the thing: there has to be a trigger, and the trigger hasn't happened. And I don't know because.
Well, oil prices can do it if we don't get control of the strait over there. And Iran's promising $200 a barrel oil. If that happens, what are we looking at? $10 a gallon?
When are we going to kick in with our Venezuelan oil, though? That oil was going to Russia and to Cuba and to China. So now that should, at some point, that's going to have to kick in and augment.
See, that's the thing. And with Trump in office, if we have some shit go down like that, Trump may actually just turn all of his attention to domestic energy, and we may grow that shit so fast that it makes the Strait of Hormuz completely irrelevant here to us anyway.
Yeah. So, but unfortunately, it could take if it takes too long to develop, they might lose the midterms, and he's a lame duck president.
You do realize that we just built the first refinery in the U.S. since the 50s in Texas. I don't know if they're starting construction on it now or they just completed it. But we just built a oil refinery. We haven't been building them since the 50s in the U.S.
Yet Chevron just pulled out of California.
We're getting ready to start producing gas in the country, which we have not been doing much of in a long time.
Now, there's a refinery right down the road from us, and it's Marathon, and they distribute to a lot of others like Super America and a bunch of others. And so it hasn't stopped here. It's been rocking my whole life.
No, I didn't say it hadn't stopped. Well, sorry. What I meant is that we had not expanded gas production in the U.S. since the 50s.
Yeah, it used to be called Ashland Oil Corporation. Ashland Oil is the parent corp, or was.
And you know how much our consumption has increased since the 50s, and we haven't expanded any of our refineries. We haven't built a refinery since the 50s. So we were way behind, and so that was basically shifting our refining duties overseas, which is raising our prices.
But we have also controlled the demand slightly because of the fact that vehicles has been getting ever more efficient since the 80s in general, except for SUVs, right? And guys, I'm gonna rant for a second. Here's something I don't understand. So why in the world would you make someone make their primary vehicle a four-door truck, four-wheel drive truck making 400 horsepower that gets 15 miles a gallon, right? It doesn't make any sense to me, but Americans seem to be obsessed with massive vehicles, whether they need them or not, and that's a factor. And in the fuel economy, when the truth is, what is funny to me is I own a 1983 Nissan Sentra, and for a long time, and they called it the Grateful Dead mobile because it had Grateful Dead stickers that somebody put all over it for some reason, and it got 51 miles to the gallon. No matter how you drove it, 51 miles a gallon.
Those kind of vehicles have a tendency to be taken off the market, Bob.
Yeah, and the Sentra's got bigger and bigger and bigger over the years, and now even with a hybrid, a Honda Civic, right? My first wife had a Honda Civic, one of the ones that said CBCC on it. It's like a 78 or 79, and guys, that car got 50 miles a gallon. No, they were tired.
Y'all ain't gonna believe that. Y'all are probably not gonna believe this unless you've seen the stuff that I've seen on this. I think this originated in France, which is really odd. France is usually not that innovative, but there's a car that could have been mass produced in the U.S. already. Now, would I drive one? Probably not. Bob definitely ain't driving one of these motherfuckers. But they run on compressed air, and they made it to where it runs on a tank of compressed air, and while it's running on that tank, there's another tank filling up. That the mechanics actually fills up the one tank while the other one's emptying, and then it switches over to the other. And the U.S. said it was unsafe. They never had a reason why it was unsafe. It was just unsafe. I know it was unsafe to the oil companies, I think. But
compressed gases have tested to explode.
No, not compressed gas, compressed air.
Yeah, but that can explode as well.
No, it can, but you run cars on gasoline, Bob.
It's exploding 8 or 10 times a millisecond, you know?
Yeah, I mean, if
8,000 times a minute.
If we can figure out how to run cars on gas without blowing ourselves up every day, I'm sure you can run it on compressed air without blowing yourself up.
You know what's interesting is that I would say 3 to 4 years ago, every day I get on the news, start watching the news as I do early in the morning, as everyone else does. And there would not be a day go by that there wouldn't be an article about hydrogen engines, about water engines that totally run on water, total emission free vehicles. Have you read any of that in the last?
Oh yeah, I think it's fascinating.
Oh, I've been reading it for 20 years, but it never materializes because the people in control here don't want it to materialize.
Now, do you want to hear something crazy? So I've owned almost every iteration of the Honda CB750 Super Sport, right? So my 1977 CB750 Super Sport got 45 miles to the gallon. My 1980 CB750 Super Sport got 45 miles to the gallon. My brand new CB750 Super Sport gets 45 miles a gallon.
Wow.
I mean,
so any time I've ever told anybody about this, it's, the older conservatives will be like, I don't want to drive no fucking air compressed car, and I was like, you don't get it. I'm not. Nobody's asking.
Oh hell yeah, I want a Tesla, Ed. I mean, Doug. I'd love to have a Tesla.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
220-mile-an-hour electric car that's just.
Well, that's what I'm trying to tell people is, it's not really about whether you drive one or not. Nobody's trying to do away with gas cars, but these alternate energy cars come into the economy, not electric cars, because electric uses gas just like everything else does, because all of our power grid is animated by oil. So
yeah, until that changes, then
right. But like compressed air, hydrogen, things like that all takes the pressure off the oil, and that drops prices for everybody.
So the hydrogen, they claim they've been working on that a long time, and there's even been oil companies involved, which makes it even more suspicious because they might be trying to suppress it by dragging the research of it. But BMW has had hydrogen powered vehicles that they've exhibited and ran around Europe.
I heard Japan within the last 2 years we're going to come out with a hydrogen car and put it on the market.
I don't think you'll see it until oil either runs out or, I mean, there's people who don't believe that oil is finite.
I'll tell you one better than that, Doug.
What?
So I get an email from Mitsubishi Heavy Industries, and they're telling me that if I've got natural gas on my property, this is what they were telling me, that they could install natural gas fuel cells that would convert it to electricity, and then the only byproduct would be water, and it would cost me in the $15,000 to $25,000 range, and I'd be off the grid forever. Well, I responded to the email, and they and this was like 7 years ago, and about a year later they responded back saying that that release was being delayed. They haven't heard anything more from it.
Yeah,
So here in
it'll get shut down.
Yeah, because here in Appalachia, a lot of people have natural gas on their property, right? And if I actually had that, I could get off the grid. I could spend if I could spend somewhere between 15 to 25 grand in one lick, and never have the responsibility of an electric bill coming to my house again. I would do it.
Yep.
And the only byproduct is water.
Well, they were running propane cars for years. That was one of the leading factors in California at one time. I had a real dear old friend that ran he owned a fencing company, and he had like 25 or 30 trucks, and they were all on propane. And those trucks ran like tops. They weren't. I think he had like the small block 350 engines and the 6 cylinders that he had them hooked up to, but they never used oil. The oil that they changed from the engines were clean. There was no carbon buildup in the engine, and they last longer.
But doesn't propane come from petroleum?
Natural gas.
So I got a question, and I just mentioned it a minute ago, and I'm not sure that y'all actually knew what I was talking about. Did you know that there's quite a few people on the planet, and a lot of them are rich people, that say that oil is not fossil fuel? It actually generates in the center of the planet.
Yeah,
and it's infinite as far as the Earth goes.
Yeah, there's deposits that's all over, and then through centrifugal force and everything.
Wouldn't that be some shit though? If that's the case, and all this oil scarcity that they use to get prices up all the time is actually fake.
Yeah, it was. We have time. It's proven now that there's an abundance of oil, and it's growing every day.
You still got to get it out of the ground, though. The getting it out of the ground and then process it and refining all that is a lot of experience.
No, it's a job. It's a job. But what if we're never going to run out, Bob? That's what people are saying.
I'm sure when you were a kid, did you remember your teachers telling you that it was the dinosaurs and everything that contributed to oil?
Yeah.
Totally false. Totally false.
It's actually leaves. It's the same process as coal. That's why we have oil, natural gas here, and coal, right?
Well, there's people that believe that shit is generated in the core of the earth, and these places we're pumping out of. As soon as we pump that shit out, and we think it's almost empty, next time we check it, it's full again.
Yep,
that's interesting. It could be shifted to an area of lower resistance,
I could definitely see the powers that be creating a false scarcity.
Oh yeah. Well,
look at Iran, and look how many millions of barrels of oil, or Venezuela. Is that running dry? Oh hell no.
Oh, it just showed yesterday, Iran.
No, these crazy people that say that oil is not from fossils and that it's generating in the middle of the earth are sounding less crazy every fucking day.
Every day, every minute. That's like, what was that with gravity? Deciding that, there is gravity. Isaac Newton, cause and effect.
It is interesting, though, that if you could harness the power of the sun and have energy that was near free, or if they come up with fusion.
Hey, fuck that, Bob. Bruce just nailed it. The power of gravity.
That's interesting.
Gravity is a constant force. It's kind of weak, though. I mean, if it was much stronger, it'd pull us straight through the fucking ground.
But it's taking you one direction. How would it return back to start again?
Have any of you read any of Nikola Tesla's?
I don't even want to talk about it, Bruce, because I kind of believe a lot of the crazy shit I hear is that we could all have free energy at this point right now, but the money people wouldn't allow Tesla.
That's right. And who was ahead of it? Who was ahead of the country at that time? General Electric.
Yep.
Westinghouse.
And from what I've heard, he actually sat down with Rockefeller in that day or whatever, and I think we were at war. Was it World War One maybe? And he was talking about supplying power to our ships, and then Rockefeller was like, "Well, hold on now, how do we put a meter on this?"
Yeah.
This was basically he was going to be pulling that
How
shit out of
can we manipulate it and make money?
And he told Tesla, "We won't be doing any power that we can't put a meter on." Ever.
Free is not the word.
Now you know you can send internet. You know when I was working for Sprint, they came up with an idea where they could send your internet through your power line, right? And they never implemented that, and then there would be no need for any new infrastructure other than the transmission of the signal at the source.
Yeah, I don't know why they didn't do that. I remember that, but there was going to have to be work done to actually make it work. Am I right, Bob?
There was in terms of the equipment and how it would be delivered, and one flaw, technical flaw that I'll try to make short and sweet is whenever you send a signal somewhere and it's branched into other stuff, that signal not only goes where it's going, but it also goes as far as it can go and ever how many directions it can go, and it comes back to the modem as a back reflection, and that's what actually causes buffering.
Oh.
It's called a bridge tap. The phenomenon.
So they couldn't figure out how to stop that?
Right. Well, because the fact that electricity is all tied together for everybody. And even if you have frequency, it would basically be frequency division on a terahertz level. And that wouldn't matter because the fact that the signals, no matter what frequency you're on, doesn't go directly to your device. And so that's why fiber, the way it works is your port is your port. And each individual, there's a splitter that splits the fiber optic signal into different frequencies, right? And each one of them frequencies is broken off in a mechanical device up there in the air or in the ground where it's buried or hanging, however they got it. And then that branches off to your house, and that becomes your port and your piece of the electromagnetic spectrum. So, whereas with the cable company, you're sharing bandwidth with the entire community, right? And even though they have a rated speed, it's only going to be what it is because you're getting a piece of a pie that's finite. Okay, so with the fiber, you're getting your own individual signal. Well, with the DSL, so Landon Beeman had a problem with his internet in his house, and I was able to test it remotely. And what I knew about it and the way he was hooked up was one of two things was possible. One thing was that in the air, he had the bridge tap we just talked about, which is common in phone service, because the people that repair phone service, when they put a series of cables together and it tees into each other, they get paid per splice. So even if I had been there 6 months before and I cut all the bridge taps along the way to the remote out and get it right to your house, which is the only way to make it work right, then somebody might come behind me and splice everything back together, and now you're on a bridge tap again. And that's one of the real reasons that DSL had trouble, right? It wasn't that the technology wasn't effective, even though it was affected by the fact that phone wires were small, but they started aggregating, like AT&T had a name for it, I forget what it was, and we called it G-bond, where you would bond two phone services together, so you'd have 4 wires. So instead of 2 small wires, you had 4 small wires. And that would allow, based on whatever your range was between you and the remote, to get up to 100 megabytes. But it doesn't even matter because you're still buffering. Even if your router was clocking the 100 megabyte speed, it wasn't delivering it, and it was buffering because the fact that the signal, when it went along the bridge tap, would come back as a back reflection, and your router has to buffer, and therefore your service has to buffer with whatever device you're using in order to reconcile the fact that the modem is having to process the same signal over and over again.
If we had to fix that, Bob, how fast would our internet have been like 20 years ago? We can't even imagine.
Right. So
what you're saying, I know what you're saying.
So if you had DSL in 1998 and it seemed like a revolution to have 12 megabytes, imagine if they'd gone up there and properly condition the lines, and your house is part two of that. So part two is the way your house is wired. So if some idiot took every phone line in the house to the NID, which is the box outside that interfaces with the wire coming into your house.
Yes.
So if they took every line and put it under the same nut, then your house becomes a bridge tap. So
the whole house becomes a bridge tap, is what you're saying.
Right. And if you're a business, it gets even. So you have to have the line that the modem is on is going to be separate from the rest of them. And it's going to go to an internet filter that only lets the internet go through that one line. And then for a business, it's an even bigger problem because they have what's called a punch down block, right? And they got a 66 block and a 100 block. And so the service will come in on one end of the block, and then it's punched down to every line that's in it.
Yeah.
Right. So what you're saying is, if this would have worked successfully, Lars Ulrich would have died of a heart attack 25 years ago.
Absolutely.
There would have been no stopping downloading free Metallica music from Napster.
Napster would have been a lot better.
Because our up and down speeds would have been enormous.
So theoretically,
they would have moved so fast that he wouldn't have been able to stop them in court, dude.
That's right.
Well, that's what they're screaming about now with Napster. With I was watching Rick Beato, and they were talking about bandwidth. Exactly what Bob is telling us about is what they're doing now with Spotify and controlling that whole streaming sequence.
Well, the one thing I've noticed is you can't get now. I'm sure you can, but most of the services you can get all around the country, you got really good down speed, but you have no good up speed anymore.
The reason for that is that the only way that the upload can be the same rate as the download is on fiber. The limitations of copper makes them make compromises. Plus, your device has to broadcast the upload, right? So it's not just, so therefore the signal it produces is not able to deliver the upload.
Well, I've heard that they really don't want fast upload speeds because that enables peer-to-peer sharing at a really quick. I used to be able to get a movie in 2 minutes.
Fiber is asynchronous, though, Doug. So if you have fiber, it's your upload, your download is asynchronous, which means they can run at the same speed.
Okay, I don't have fiber right now. I'm still.
But you know what I'm finding out also, guys, is that on the MP3s, the quality and the bandwidth on those MP3s, sometimes you'll find them to be really good, and then other times it's just shit. And
that's something. Whoever encoded it probably encoded it at a really bad rate or something.
Yeah, that's also possible.
It is just, man, I find some quality of music that I download and record that the quality is just real.
You know what I hate? I hate it when I get a fucking movie online illegally, and it's recorded and it was filmed at the theater, and some fucking guy with a fucking big old waterhead walks by and blocks on the fucking screen.
Oh, so you're
I'm like, that's fucking rude, man.
Doug's divulging that he's a Streamo fan.
No, that's so
Come on, Doug.
That's so 15 years ago, Bruce. I haven't watched anything filmed in a movie theater in 15 years, but that used to happen, and he used to burn my ass up. Who the fuck is this big waterhead motherfucker? And then he stops and he looks at the screen.
Property was stolen. We can all play like Don Henley, huh?
Fuck Don Henley. Don Henley took made Tabitha take a reel down.
I know.
She did like a half a verse of Witchy Woman, and Don Henley had a problem with it.
My nephew and I got a real not a real heated argument, but an argument of intellectual property, and he was siding with Don Henley because all these people were taking the lyrics from Hotel California and using them and he wasn't getting any residual for it. So,
well, the thing is, go look at the Eagles on Spotify. I believe that they're at about close to 50 million monthly listeners.
Oh yeah,
they're still racking up. I don't know what the hell Don Henley's worried about. How old is Don Henley?
he's. I think he's a year younger than I am.
Right. So I mean, it's like, what the hell? You can't take that shit with you. I don't know what the hell Don Henley's worried about. I think that he wants to force people to go ahead and do it correctly so he gets his money. You know, like
And
Tabitha records
I have no problems with that. Doug.
an
I
Eagles
really
song,
don't.
and he's going to miss out on the $1.92 that she generates.
But I see people that are really against other people even doing covers.
Yeah, I don't know. It's crazy.
And to me, to a point on that intellectual property, that then every time I played, today I was learning how to play Willing by Little Feat. And that means I got to go to Little Feat and ask permission to play it.
No, I don't know. It depends on the Little Feat. You know what the Beatles do about, what's left of the Beatles or whoever runs Apple Corps or whatever it is that
Probably it's
that governs the
Paul-
Beatles music. You
Paul
know what they do
McCartney.
about covers, Bruce?
What's that?
Absolutely nothing. They say
Because
keep
it
recording them,
benefits everyone.
keep doing them, and
You'll be relevant.
it keeps our name in the
Yes.
in the young people's thoughts, and that's
Absolutely.
all they do. They don't do anything.
And I wish more kids nowadays did not use AI and start writing their own music and start writing their own lyrics. And
You need to talk to my daughter because she despises AI. She will not do.
I'm glad.
hates AI.
I'm glad she's sticking to her guns. And I
I don't even know if it's not even like that for her. She just hates it. She's like
it
it's
sounds
just
different.
something phony. It's just phony, and it's like defeats the whole purpose of art. And all it's doing is mimicking whatever they give it to train on. It's just mimicking people. And you know what? It's not going to take off because already, like filmmakers and stuff, they don't use any AI music because they have no clue what the hell is going to be the deal on these copyrights in 10 years from now. That shit could change on a dime, and all of a sudden they owe some fucking artist that they've never even heard of money because the AI that they use to create their music copied some artist that they don't. You know what I'm saying? It's just too many holes in the legality of it.
But you know what's funny is you listen or you talk to some musicians, and this started way back when they started using the click track instead of drums.
Yeah,
you know. And
well, they didn't use it. I mean, they didn't typically use it instead of drums, but they use it to make sure that everybody stayed in time.
Right, but you could hear it on the track, and a lot of people got pissed off about.
Well, you could hear it if the engineer or the person recording it didn't take it out, which I don't know why they wouldn't, but I think a lot of times you take it out before you do the final mix. You get rid of the click.
Mm-hmm. That's what weeds bands out if they can't play to a click track. So they get a new band in the studio and they're trying to break them, and they say, "Hey, you play to a click track," and if they can't, then they bring in another. They pay another band because a lot of bands get there because they have that look, right, or or whatever it is, and then they'll come and pay somebody else to come in and actually record the album while they train them how to actually play.
Well, here's one to talk about before we go. And I just seen this the other day, and this was really interesting. I know y'all have heard Kansas, "Carry On My Wayward Son."
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
That song, they recorded it, a scratch version of it is what they thought they were recording. That ended up being the version they used. That not the whole thing, but the rhythm section. And the timing is all over the place. They did not use a click. They didn't really have clicks back then. That they not like they do now.
Mm-hmm.
You could do it, but a lot of times somebody with really good timing, like with Kiss on Kiss Destroyer, Bob Ezrin sit and beat on a box. He had perfect timing, and he made Peter Criss stay in time with what he was doing, hitting the box. But on "Carry On My Wayward Son," if you put a click track to that thing and get it sunk up at the beginning, it'll be off by the end. It's all over the place. If you listen to it, you can hear the speeding up and slowing down, and it actually makes the song better.
I agree with that.
But I actually tried what they said. It was actually, I think it was Rick Beato that actually, where I first heard this. And
he has a great show.
He was actually, yeah, he does. But it was very interesting. I did the experiment, and they were right. It's nowhere close to being in a perfect time. It's all over the place. But there's no time changes in it. The drummer just he got a little zealous at times, and sometimes he didn't. And but they said if they recorded that with a click, it wouldn't have near the personality that it's got. It just wouldn't. But anyway, Ed.
Yeah.
How do you work good with a click track?
Yeah.
That means Ed's he's taking his click track and he's going to bed.
That's our key.
I'm tired. I admit it.
All right, guys. So we'll talk. If we haven't ended and if we haven't descended into some type of world war and lost our internet by next week, we'll be doing this shit again, right?
Yes, sir.
I'm looking for better ground.
There you go.
All right.
All right.
Be positive, guys.
Like, share, subscribe. Join the party.
All right.
All right, guys.
Take care, guys. Bye-bye.
Listen to this great smacking off the podcast song as our outro.
I'm the king of this shit, yeah, I'm built to last. Bitches trying to front, but they don't got the craft. Rolling with my crew, we move quick like a flash. Living that street life, making money, making cash. I hate your team, they just wanna crash. But I'm balling on a level, yo, I'm sipping on that sass. Smacking off the podcast, don't step to me. Talking all that noise, but you're just a parody. Fuck your mama, know you hate my clarity. We live in thug life, that's the reality. I'm the voice of the streets, I'm the absolute truth. Got these fuckers shook, they just playing the sleuth. You claiming that you tough, but where's your proof? I'm flexing all these wannabes, I'm the living proof. Hard street living, always rolling deep. In the shadows making moves, never lose my sleep. My rhymes hit hard like a punch from the street. So fuck with me, you know you can't compete. Stacking off the podcast, don't you step to me. Talking all that noise, but you're just a parody. Fuck your mama, you know I did. We live in thug life, that ain't no shit. Smack, yeah, we making waves. Cast hitting hard like we digging graves. Got that fire in my soul, feel the heat that raves. In this life, boy, you either thug or just slaves. With my crew by my side, we rise up like kings. Life's a game of chess and I'm pulling the strings. Got the world on my back, but I'm counting these blings. Motherfuck your team, they don't know where to sing. I'm the real deal, no imitation. Speeding raw truth, no hesitation. Built from the struggle, pure determination. Smacking off the podcast, my revelation. Smacking off the podcast, don't you step to me. Talking all that noise, but you're just a